It's It's us, the Brother Sisters, and we're live on a Thursday. I'm Janice Brothers.
I'm Ann Brothers.
That's Ann Brothers. Ann Brothers. And it's a Thursday. It's a thirsty Thursday. Thank God it's Thursday. TGIBT. Thank God it's Bar Thursday. And what are we drinking today?
Moscow Mules.
That's right. I'm very excited about this Moscow Mule cup that I found because, and I'll talk a little bit more about the mule in a second, but they're traditionally served in a copper mug. And though I get irritated with the copper mug thing, especially in the summertime, especially in this part of the world because it's stupid humid, and then your copper mug just sweats constantly. Well, I found an insulated tumbler that's also copper colored, so now I can enjoy this Moscow Mule without a sweaty mug. Oh,
nice, very nice.
Oh, that's good. It's got that nice ginger snap to it. Ginger snap. So, Ann, tell me something good that's happening in Michigan right now.
Ooh,
that's good.
Duncan and I went to one of our favorite restaurants today. Even though they're not doing sit-down service yet, they're open for takeout. It's called Harissa's, and it's on Maple in Ann Arbor, and it's a North African restaurant.
Ooh, yummy.
It's a little bit on the expensive side for a deli-style restaurant, but everything they make is homemade, and it is freaking amazing. So we got takeout, and we sat in a park and listened to Fresh Air, Terry Gross's Fresh Air, about the Mary Trump book, and ate North African food. So that was lovely, because we had to go grocery shopping today, which is always blah. So we went grocery shopping, and then we treated ourselves to lunch.
Yay.
Yes.
Let's see, what did I do today? I went so once a week I do something terrible to myself. I go into St. Croix Falls, Wisconsin, which is just up the road from us, and I do what's called my hill workout. So it's they have the whole of St. Croix Falls is on a hill because it goes right into the river. Remember Bentleyville growing up in Pennsylvania? Remember that hilly sort of nest? St. Croix Falls is just like that. So I do several hill climbs of that, and that's my morning routine. And it's kind of horrible, and I do that once a week because I hate myself or whatever. No, I love myself. I hate myself. That's okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I did that, and then I went shopping for my nephew because he's going to get a care package because he's a camp counselor this year, and that's got to be challenging, especially in the age of COVID. And then I did the dishes, and I listened to my biography of Andrew Hamilton, which is awesome, and avoided doing other work. So, and then I also made slides about Moscow Mules and stuff. So anyway, hey, let's talk about the Moscow Mule, shall we?
Okay.
All right.
Let us.
I like to call the Moscow Mule the doorway or vodka's doorway to America. Let me explain. All right. So for starters, you guys, a Moscow Mule, it is a vodka-based mixed drink. And it's mixed with ginger beer. It's enhanced with lime, and it's garnished with mint. And it's traditionally served in a copper mug, very much like the copper mug you see here, except metal. Now, Ann, you're not using yours in a copper mug. Tell us about your receptacle.
Oh, my receptacle is, they were popular in the 1950s. I found a bunch of them at a yard sale. They're a metal cup, a tin cup. And I thought, well, at least it's metal, right? And it's blue, so it's pretty. So I just put it in there. So, at least, because I was at Meijer today, and they had, copper cups, but I didn't want to spend $10 on one. It seemed, I'm like, meh. So anyway, this one instead.
I know, right? This one was only $4, so I'm like, I'll do that. But yeah, they wanted like $10 for the regular metal. I'm like, I ain't spending that. And I couldn't. I've literally been looking for a copper mug at a secondhand store for years. But because these are wildly popular, it's really hard to find copper mugs secondhand. And I'm insanely jealous of your metal cups because those remind me of those metal cups that Grandma had when we were kids.
Yeah.
Hey, are you friends with Katie Clemens on Facebook?
I am.
You should go look for her post because she put a great picture of Grandma Baker on Facebook yesterday. So.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Yeah, she's holding one of the cousins. I think Laura Lee said it was her, but it's just a great picture of Mina. And I haven't seen a picture that good of her in years. And she's she's not young. I mean, because in our mind, Grandma Baker was always 1,000 years old, but it was still in that
Right.
time she was kind of plump, So so she was
Cool.
probably
Okay, I'll do that. Thanks.
late 70s or early 80s. Sorry, I got off track. Aunt Julie said we had a whole set of those. I'm like, I remember because it always felt like everything you drank in those metal cups was like 10 times colder. I loved those cups.
Exactly. Me too.
Totally.
Me too. When I found a set of them at a yard sale for 25 cents each, I was like, sold.
For real. All right. Susie is getting her mixers and she's nearly ready to join us. Thank you, Susie Nelson. Aunt Julie, it's great to have you. Aunt Julie and I had a fun day today. We got to try and identify the fungus that's growing in her wood chips. So awesome. We're actually going to talk about that. That's going to be one of my topics because I think it's fascinating and that stuff is crazy cool. So anyway, that's another thing that we did today. All right. So back to the Moscow Mule. Sorry, you guys. I'm all over the place today. So I'm just super distracted. I don't know what my problem is. Anyway, so the story behind the mule is kind of a fun one. So the question of where did the Moscow Mule came from, for starters, let me just say this, not Moscow, okay? Apparently, it came from a series of mistakes and dumb luck. The invention of the mule is attributed to a dude named John G. Martin. He was an executive for this liquor company. And he basically talked this liquor company back in the 40s to acquiring Smirnoff vodka. And that was back in the 30s. And that was apparently not a great choice because at that point in time, vodka was associated with Russia and Americans wanted nothing to do with Russia. So nobody was buying vodka. While on some sort of like promotional tour for his vodka, he goes to this place called the Cock and Bull in Los Angeles and he meets the owner, Jack Morgan. And Jack Morgan is having issues because he's got too much ginger beer. So you've got Martin, who can't sell any vodka. You've got Morgan, who's got too much ginger beer. And you've got a bartender by the name of Wes Price, who's super smart. Jack Morgan's girlfriend has too many copper mugs. Anyway, throw it all together. And boom, you get the Moscow Mule. So Wes Price is credited with being the actual person who put this together for the first time. But you have this series of misevents, poor choices, and mistakes, buying vodka, acquiring vodka for your company, ordering too much ginger beer, having copper mugs that you don't want anymore, and you end up with a Moscow Mule, which I think is pretty American, really.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yes, I'm like, how American of you. So yeah, and again, it got the name essentially from the idea that, vodka's Russian, so we'll give it that. It has a kick to it, that nice ginger kick by adding the ginger beer. So it's, because mules kick. So Moscow Mule has a nice phonetical name. And here we are all these years later drinking all kinds of variations of the Moscow Mule. And it's a wildly popular drink in this day and age. Your basic recipe, it's 1.5 ounces of vodka, a half ounce of lime juice, a cup of ice, a half cup of ginger beer, a lime wedge to garnish, and a mint sprig to garnish as well. And I've got that on mine right there. Yeah, that's mint from my backyard that I haven't killed. So yay for me. So you basically just take your, put some ice in your glass, pour your vodka and your lime juice over that. Squeeze a little extra lime in if you want to. You can stir it. You can put your ginger beer in, stir it, or you can roll it, which is where you dump it from one cup to another, and then garnish it with an extra lime, some mint, and enjoy it. And it's super easy. And there are many variations of it you can get. You can have it with raspberry flavor added to it, or strawberry flavor, or mango. I had one yesterday. It's a rosemary pear mule, so it's made with like some pear juice or pear flavored vodka and some rosemary, and it's served with a sprig of rosemary, and it is just delicious. You can go to the tavern in Woodbury or the tavern in, I don't know, there's a bunch of taverns around Minneapolis. They serve it. It's really good. Get that and their brie pizza, and you will be a happy citizen. That's all I know. So that's all I have to know. And that's pretty much it. That's, like I said, it's a really yummy drink. It's one of the things I like about it is that you can make it less sweet if you want by adding a little bit less ginger beer, or adding fresh ginger and going club soda, or upping your amount of lime juice. So it doesn't have to be a sticky sweet drink. The sad part is sometimes when you go to establishments, they put a little too much ginger beer in it. They make it more sweet than they need to. I believe the ginger beer is the star of the Moscow Mule. But that's it. So anyway, there you go. That's what we're drinking today, Moscow Mule. It's another really excellent summer drink. But there you go. Mm-hmm. How are you enjoying yours, Anne?
I do enjoy mine, but I have to admit, I like what do they call it? A Montezuma Mule, because I like mine with tequila. So I'll usually get a Montezuma Mule because I like tequila a lot, and I do like the nice kick of the ginger beer, and then of course the lime goes so well with tequila. So that's usually my go-to if I'm going to have a cocktail, because Duncan's going to drive home. That's usually my go-to.
Nice. I know, and you only get one, so good.
Yeah, exactly. I get Moscow Mule.
Moscow Mule. There's an establishment in Chisago City where Joe and I lived when we first moved out to this neck of the woods. The Northern, which has the best chicken wings ever. They make a really good raspberry mule, so they do a really nice job of that. So, good job, the Northern, for many reasons. So, moving away from the Northern,
they also have a nacho plate that's like a platter.
It's a platter of nachos, and it's made with potato chips, homemade potato chips, instead of it's made with like their pulled pork that they smoke on Thursdays, and barbecue sauce. And it's pretty much, all I know is that when Joe and I moved away from Chisago and over here to Dresser, it was probably one of the best things that ever happened to us, because between the money we were spending and the calories we were intaking, it had turned bad. I regret nothing. So, all right. Anyway, it's Thursday, you guys, and on Bar Thursday, not only do we talk about some sort of delicious drink that we are drinking, but we also talk about a movie that we watched this week. And it was my pick this week. This is my fault, wasn't it?
This was your fault.
Yeah, completely my fault. My apologies. And I'm just going to take a second real quick and get this rolling. Anne and I watched the movie Crawl, which is how would one describe this movie, Anne? It's an action adventure movie.
Yes. It is a triumph of the human spirit, is what it is.
That's right, Anne. A triumph of the human spirit. And alligators. So I'm going to go ahead and do a quick share on that so you guys can see what we're talking about here. And we're sharing, and there it is, and we're going full screen, and there it is. Yes. And as Anne said, Crawl is a triumph of the human spirit and alligator spirit, because I don't want to short the alligators on this, because they play a big part of this movie. Mm-hmm. So to give people a quick rundown of this movie, background, this movie was released last July of 2019, and it stars I can't pronounce this girl's name, Kea Scodelario and Barry Pepper. And it's a really sweet father-daughter movie where dad and daughter end up in a crawl space during a hurricane that is also infested with alligators. So anyway, we saw this movie in the theater last year together. And the reason that we saw this movie in the theater last year is because I was out visiting, and it was about 1,000 degrees. It was because it was in July. And it was one of those nights where you just, when you don't have air conditioning in your house, you go to the movies because the movie is air conditioned and there are snacks. And it's one of those theaters that has the reclining chairs, and you could go get an actual big girl drink and get pretzel dippers and chicken fingers. And so that's why you go to a movie like Crawl. That's why the movie Crawl exists. So
actually, also that week that you visited, we had a storm just before you got there, and we had lost power. So that night we actually did not have power. So we're like, oh, it's hot and miserable. What do you want to go do? Well, usually I go see a movie when it's hot and miserable. So there wasn't like a ton of stuff we wanted to see, but we're like, okay, Crawl, that looks like a no-brainer. And it was.
And it was. And honestly, as you're sitting there in the movie theater and it's air conditioned, you're eating your snacks and you're drinking your drink, you're like, it literally could be any movie ever. It does not matter. So it
does not matter.
It was 90 minutes of bliss, essentially. So in rewatching it over the last couple of days, I did find some flaws that I did not notice the first time I watched this movie. So with that said, here are some reasons to watch Crawl. Number one, there are many worse movies that you could watch on Amazon Prime because that's where you will find this movie. Lots of worse movies. It has a couple of really good jump moments where you're like, oh, you got me. The alligators are like badass. They're like Olympic style mutant, awesome alligators that can do things that no alligator has ever done before. In fact, if I were an alligator, I would love this movie because it's like, you know how like you watch movies and the movie stars can do things that no human can actually do, like jumping from one building to the next, or Angelina Jolie holding any sort of large weapon because those are heavy and she's got those little toothpick arms. But the alligators, yeah. So the alligators in this movie are like that. They can do things that no other alligator can do. So that would be cool if I were an alligator watching this. This movie gives you the opportunity on many occasions to say, well, that was really dumb. Okay. It's good to see, this movie is good because it's good to see Barry Pepper getting work. He was kind of big in the 90s and we haven't seen much of him lately. So it's a great movie if you just need to check your brain out. If you've had a hard day or if things are really stressing you out, you don't have to do any big thinking while watching this movie. In fact, you might come out a couple of IQ points lower than when you started. You know, you can get those back by reading an article on the Atlantic or something like that. Okay. It's a great movie. I'm sorry. There's a strong female lead. She's the apex predator, and I just put that in there because that's a reference that they keep making in the movie about how she's an apex predator or whatever. And the nice thing is that's only 90 minutes long. So after a while it starts to get old, you don't have to wait very long. It will be over soon. There is some sly humor in the movie, especially with the part where they're trying to steal the ATM. That's another thing. And the dog lives. So spoiler alert, the dog lives. Yay. That's because the dog's the best part of the movie. So.
Oh, you know, I also wanted to add, I forgot to add this, is that they have a nice section, like, you know, when you're in a movie theater and you have to go to the bathroom, and you're like, oh, I don't want to miss anything. Well, they have this really nice section where the dad and the daughter are having this tender moment, you know, about their relationship and blah, blah, blah. And it lasts about 6 minutes, which is plenty of time to get yourself to the bathroom and back before you miss the alligator trying to eat them again. So,
yeah, I would
nice
agree.
Of them to do that.
And I do. And every movie should have that. Every movie should have like a built-in pee break. And this one does. Anyway. So, okay. With that said, and speaking of the father-daughter relationship, here's the reasons to not watch Crawl, for instance, as with all movies like this. It tries to bring in some heartfelt human element to the story, and it doesn't work, and it never does. In this case, it's the difficult dynamic between Haley, who's a high-level swimmer, and her dad, who was her strong-willed high-level coach, and they don't like each other because they're the same. Whatever. So other reasons not to watch is that I had no idea alligators were such world-class sprinters. Don't watch this movie if you're either from Florida or if you're sympathetic to Floridians and you're tired of watching them take a beating, because Florida does take a beating a lot in this country, and they're going to take a beating in this movie too. Reasons, go ahead.
I thought another reason that they're just better examples of this type of movie, you know, somebody trapped in a confined area with predators or some sort of natural thing, you know, that's going to try to kill them. And of course, you know, they've got like a really small timeline before they run out of air or run out of water or something. So I think if you want to go old school, Cujo is a great example of that. Or if you want something more recent, The Shallows. Also, in neither one of those movies does the main character get some first responders killed, because that was a little annoying in this one. You know, so there was like so much stupidity. You were getting other people killed. Yeah. So yeah, try not to do that.
Try not to do that. And frankly, it's not Jaws. And as far as I'm concerned, as far as Predator movies go, and I just rewatched Jaws last week, so I wanted to just see how well it holds up. That movie is still really great. I just want you to know that. All right. So, Anne, would you please take us through the valuable lessons you gained from watching the movie Crawl?
Yes, I would love to because I did learn some valuable lessons from this movie, which is important. I mean, if you're going to see a mindless it's nice to have some takeaway from it besides diarrhea from the all you could eat nacho bar. Never do that in a movie theater, by the way.
Ooh.
All right, so valuable
Would you
lesson
ever do
number
that?
one. Flip-flops are not appropriate footwear at any time, especially during a hurricane, especially when, crawling around a crawl space. Flip-flops, no. Outside of your house, no. Bad.
Yeah, and
Another thing that I learned
well, I
is
was just
that you
going
need
to
to
say,
make
Ann,
sure. I'm sorry.
I interrupted you. I was just thinking that in our own household, in Mike and Cynthia Brothers' household, flip-flops were for showering at camp, and that was pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and this movie will be like, dang, girl, you couldn't put on a pair of Keds or Skechers or something? You knew you were driving into a hurricane. Flip-flops? Really? Yeah. All right. So another thing I learned is that, you should probably make sure your tetanus shot is up to date. You have to get one about every 10 years. And after seeing this movie, I'm like, oh, she's going to need a whole series of tetanus shots. So make sure yours up to date.
Now that I think about it, Ann, I can't remember the last time I had a tetanus shot. 2007? 2008? I might be due. For
You're past you. Yeah.
I know. When did I get one last? I don't remember. But you know what? Because it's perfect. Because now they do is they give you the tetanus / whooping cough shot together. And who doesn't need a whooping cough booster, right? Because that's still a thing. Exactly. Why is it still a thing? Sorry.
Anti-vaxxers. I know they don't like that name, but I don't like them. So anyway, and then I think you added this one, Jenny, about those Doritos were not worth it.
Correct. Because
was that the boat thing?
That was the boat thing. The dude is like floating around and like, dude, you couldn't live without that Doritos fix. Those Doritos were not worth it, as we learned shortly thereafter. All right. Sorry. Continue.
Exactly. Don't want to give too much away, but yes, the Doritos were not worth it. I also learned that you don't want to endanger first responders because you're too stupid to evacuate yourself in a natural disaster situation.
Yes.
And so I'm just going to reiterate that. So think like, oh, man, I can ride out this hurricane, or, oh, man, I can ride out this forest fire. Remember, somebody's going to try to come and rescue your dumb ass if you call them. So don't make anybody do that. That's just rude. It's rude.
Rude.
If you're on an iceberg because your boat or your fishing, house got stuck, I'm like, unless your credit card is, goes through, I would be like, I'm sorry, dude, you got to stay on the iceberg because, your credit card was declined and we can't afford to rescue you. So there you go.
Yeah.
And I also learned that alligators will eat you. There you go. And, here's another thing I learned. People should not live in Florida because of alligators and hurricanes. And it's only a few inches above sea level, and storm surges and levees and Jacksonville and Ron DeSantis.
Just keeps going. That's a lot of reasons. So if you live in Florida, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I am sorry.
Ann Burnett, I know you live in Florida, but you're not in Florida right now. You came up here because you're smart.
You're smart.
Yeah, I would agree. I've been to Florida a couple times, and I got to tell you, weird vibe down there. Weird vibe. That's all I'm going to say about Florida. Okay. Even though, in February, sometimes I do long for the sun and the humidity.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I can see why it has its appeal. I totally can see why. But I think the list of benefits to problems, I mean, the problem list is way longer than the benefit list.
Susie Nelson has some strong opinions today, so I'm putting her strong opinions out there. So, have a girl, Susie. I love you.
Nice job. Nice job.
All right. So those are the lessons that you gained from watching the movie Crawl, and things that I love this too, Ann. If you don't mind taking us through this, the things you shouldn't do during a hurricane.
Now, I've never been in a hurricane personally myself, but I think from like standing back and observing, and also from this movie, I've learned some things that I shouldn't do. One, you should not go towards the storm. So they're like, don't go there. The hurricane is there. You should be like, thanks, dude, and go the other way.
Well, and here's the thing. They tell you in the movie that this is like a Category 5 hurricane. A Category 5 hurricane, you guys, that means that you're going to have sustained winds of over 200 miles an hour for hours upon end. And you're going to have a massive storm surge because of atmospheric conditions and low pressure systems. So you're going to have these massive storm surges. Yeah. Anyway, I'm not going to get into it because I'm not talking about hurricanes today. But I would agree, Ann. Don't go towards the storm. Go away from the storm.
Away from the storm.
Go.
Okay, the next thing that you should not do is you should not tell people you don't need help when you absolutely need help. Like, he's like, the dad is like got this big shoulder wound from where an alligator tried to eat him. And he's like, you shouldn't be here. Get out of here. I don't need your help. I'm like, oh, you are wrong. You need lots of help. So, if somebody's offering you help and you need it, just take it. What do you got to lose? Oh, I know, your life. So,
yeah.
Okay. Another thing, and I'm harping on this again, you should not endanger other people because you're too stupid to stay away from a hurricane. When you go towards the hurricane, you're probably going to get yourself in trouble, and then you're going to want somebody to rescue you. Fly a helicopter in there, bring their boat in, and then they might get eaten by alligators, and then you've got that death on your hands.
2 deaths, because both of those first responders ended up dead.
Exactly. Rude. So rude. Next thing, man, don't take your dog into dangerous places. You shouldn't do that. The dog is like counting on you not to be stupid and like protect them. So you're like, oh, I know. Come on, sugar. Let's go towards where dad is, and get more into the hurricane. Irresponsible. You're supposed to love that dog.
She should have just left the dad alone and took the dog out of there. Anyway, sorry.
No kidding. No kidding. That man is a grown man. He's a grown white man. He made his decision. Next, you should not ever go down into a crawl space. Never. One for one, that's a boy job. Girls don't have to do that. Boys have to do that. So if there's a crawl space and they're like, go down there, I'm like, no.
I have a comment. Yes. So we have a crawl space underneath our house, and it's gross. So the other day we had a tornado warning just outside of town, and Joe and I decided that we would rather take our chances by putting a mattress over us in the bathroom than go into the crawl space.
Exactly. Because the tornado's probably not going to kill you, but the black widow spiders, or whatever else creepy crawly thing is down there, tetanus shot, and you haven't had your tetanus shot in a while, Jenny.
No,
you're not going to a crawl space. So
no, I'm not going to a crawl space. I've seen it. I put a flashlight down there. I'm like, oh hell no. So
hell no.
No.
And finally, the last thing that you should not do during a hurricane is try to rob a convenience store of their ATM machine. One, if you're going to rob a convenience store during a hurricane, just take the beer. People are going to give you a ton of money for that, and you're never going to get the ATM open. I mean, let's be honest.
No, did you not watch Breaking Bad when we were trying to get the ATM open?
I was just thinking that, Jenny. I'm like, have we not learned anything from Breaking Bad? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was my favorite part of the entire movie. And I was like, thank God we had this part of the movie, because you get to watch the 3 people try and rob the convenience store of the ATM. And I would call it 5 minutes of just head shaking, like, yeah, wow. And the thing is, people will do that sort of thing. And that's happening somewhere, somehow.
Especially in Florida.
Yeah. Well, the good news about this movie, Anne, and for the people that are going to watch this movie, if you're thinking of not watching this movie, I would just like you to consider that there are lessons here, valuable lessons to gain from watching this movie. And there's something to be said about that. So, and like I said, frankly, it's a really good summertime movie. And if it's really hot outside, and if you have air conditioning in your home and you can't think of something better to do, I will say this, though, that Joe, who's usually a pretty hardy movie watcher, started getting up and cleaning the kitchen while we were watching. Not me, Joe Peter started cleaning up the kitchen as we were watching this movie. I'm not saying that. Yeah, that means something. It does. It means something. So
it does.
Anyway,
because that's his most hated household task is kitchen cleaning.
Doing dishes and cleaning the kitchen is the bane of my husband's existence. It's like Joe and I look for a house to buy. We have a certain set of criteria, and they're not big criteria. It's like 2 toilets, 2-car garage, a dishwasher. That's pretty much it. Because Joe does not want to do dishes anymore.
Oh, poor Joe.
I know. Yeah. So anyway, one thing at a time. I don't mind doing the dishes. I grew up doing the dishes. I still to this day. I do the dishes. I put an audiobook on and I listen to it and I do dishes and it's fine. It's fun. So that's how I read a lot of books that way. I don't read them. I listen to them and then I disseminate them and think about them as I do my dishes. Maybe it's a meditation for me.
Oh,
I know.
Maybe.
Maybe.
You should write a self-help book about it, Jenny, and have people listen to it while they do the dishes.
Good idea.
I know, right?
I know, right, Susie? Air conditioning and a dishwasher. The American dream. I'm not even sure. You know, honestly, Susie, I don't even think AC is on the wish list. I've lived without it for so long. I'm like, yeah, people have that. Nice. So
nice.
I know. It's just gonna make me soft, and I don't want to be soft. I'm soft. That's okay.
Oh, yeah, no, I refuse to go in the crawl space. So there you go.
Yeah, I know, totally soft. All right, well, Anne, I don't really have anything more to say. I think we've said everything that needs to say. We talked about our Moscow Mules, where they came from, the fact that they're not from Moscow, that they were made by a series of dumb mistakes, and we talked about the movie Crawl, which is a great summertime movie. If you got an air conditioner and you want just a brainless popcorn movie, then Crawl is the movie for you. So,
well, Jenny, like the Moscow Mule, the Crawl is a series of dumb mistakes.
Yes, dumb mistakes and dumb luck is how we can describe the movie Crawl.
But the Moscow Mule.
And the Moscow
Mule. It's a theme.
It is. And I think this movie is a testament to the power of Sam Raimi, who produced this movie. It tells you that if Sam Raimi's on your side, you can get any movie ever made.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly. I think that might have been one of the reasons why we finally okay, we'll go see this one because it's a Sam Raimi production. I think that actually helped sell it to us. So.
Right. Absolutely. I'm like, well, Sam Raimi's involved. It must be pretty good. So, and that's a dude that's been living off the Evil Dead franchise for quite a while now. Good job, Sam Raimi. You smart.
Actually, if you're going to do Sam Raimi, you might as well just see Evil Dead. There's a lot of gotcha moments in that.
Oh my God. That series is 3 of the most fun movies ever. Evil Dead 2, and Army of Darkness. Just 3 great. In fact, you know what, Anne? Next week, let us start the Evil Dead trilogy. Do you think? Should we?
I think we should. What else we got to do?
You know what? Honestly, for the next 4 weeks, because they're not announcing in Minnesota yet until the 30th what we're doing for school. So I will continue to use my speculation about my upcoming school year as a thought exercise. I shall practice my techniques. I shall test equipment, and I shall watch the Evil Dead series. Yay! Yay! All right, good.
Awesome.
Speaking of coming back, we'll be back. Anne, are we in for Sunday Live?
Yeah, let's do Sunday Live.
I have heard a couple of people that have asked us to bring back 10 questions. So let's have prepare to answer 10 questions Sunday brunch on Sunday. What time do you want? We'll talk about time later. We'll let you know what time. Just know we're coming back live on Sunday. We're going to be answering some questions, hopefully our questions, hopefully your questions. If you feel like joining us, that'd be super duper. But that's it for today. Go out, make yourself a mule. Don't feel that you have to use a copper mug. It's not a deal breaker. There are some establishments that don't actually serve their Moscow Mules in copper mugs because people steal the mugs.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. We're awesome.
There was, I think it's in Grand Rapids. I was in Grand Rapids a few years ago, and I got a Moscow Mule, and it ended up in a glass. And she's like, sorry, it's in a glass. Somebody has been stealing all of our mugs. And I'm like, oh, that sucks.
Well, it's easier than stealing the copper plumbing. So there you go.
Wait a second. Nelson, is that you saying that you're the one that's been out there stealing the copper mugs? Girl, if that's the case, what?
we can at least each have one.
I know, because I won't pay the money for one, but you know what? I can't help it. It's just, that's hilarious. Okay, good. I'll just drink it out of my faux copper mug. My copper plastic.
At least
mug.
we know where they are now.
Exactly. They're in Milwaukee. All right. All right, you guys. Have a great day. Happy Thursday. For those of you that are calling it a weekend after today, fantastic. For those of you, tomorrow is your Friday. Have a great day. Thanks, you guys, for joining us. Wait, I have to put a book on screen. Okay, peace.
Peace. Bye.
Bye.